What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Brian Talks Money Show. Today, I'm joined by California's youngest real estate broker, an ADU expert with multitasker, and he's also an international keynote speaker and a 3-time published author. I mean, what else has his kid not done? Please give a warm welcome to today's guest, Miguel Aldrete.
Hey, Brian, thanks so much for having me. I'm super excited.
And I'm going to refrain back. I didn't mean kid, I meant guy, bro. Like, my bad, bro.
I think we met when I was still a kid.
Yeah, that's why I was back. I was like,
yeah.
dude, like, and that's crazy, bro. And give us a little bit, background to start off the story. Tell us a little bit about your upbringing, where you started, where you're at now, and ultimately a little bit about the journey.
Yeah, absolutely. So I did grow up here in San Diego. I went to a high school that's literally a few minutes away from.
Where'd you go?
I went to Olympian High School.
Oh, cool, bro. You're like right down the street. I went to Eastlake.
Oh, there you go. There
nice.
you go. Right next to each other. So all in all, I mean, the main kind of reason I'm in real estate now is during high school, my parents didn't let me work for money, right? So they told me every single summer, if you want to work, you have to get a job that you're going to learn something. That's way more important than the money right now, because you're not paying rent here. You're not, paying for your food. So at the end of the day, you don't need it. So go and find something that you'll learn from. It was definitely difficult during high school because you see other kids that are, working at restaurants and stuff like that, and they're buying new cars and they're, they have money that they can spend. And at the end of the day, for me, it was all unpaid internships 4 years in a row. And it was really to find out what I wanted to do when I got older. So I did something in politics, something in marketing. I did like a call center, a couple different things. And eventually I ended up working for a real estate broker. That first day that I came into the office, the first thing that he had me do was make him a cup of coffee. And he said every morning by 9 a.m., I arrive at the office, get here a little bit early, so my coffee's on my desk. So it was literally that type of internship.
Wow.
And I think it built a lot of character for sure. On that first day being there as well, he gave me the first assignment of distributing commission checks to his agents. So he'd print them out, and then I'd go and walk it over to their office. And
You think he did that on purpose?
I definitely think so.
Yeah.
'Cause I started seeing the commission checks coming in, and my first thought, that was my junior year of high school.
Okay.
And my parents grew up immigrants. They had to work for a lot of the stuff. Their parents didn't know the education system here.
Yeah.
And they worked really hard to pay for their own college. So even though I knew that my parents would help me pay for college, I wanted to be able to tell them, don't worry about it. And I saw real estate as an opportunity to do that, in being like, hey, if I can sell one house per semester, I can cover my tuition. So pretty much at 18, while I was still in high school, I got my real estate license. So I would go from social studies class, bell rings at 3, to go show houses.
That's insane. And it's funny because I recently saw a post, and it's a kid at his high school literally in the bathroom with his laptop open taking business calls. And it reminds me of you being so young, but at the same time you're like, I know what I want, I'm gonna go out and get it. And it's funny because nowadays it's almost like you have all these possibilities, but what is it that you really want to do? And it's very unique listening to what your parents did for you. I think that's honestly very, very remarkable because of the fact that you grew up trying to figure out what it is that you actually like and didn't get attached to the money and said, wow, well, this makes me a lot of money. Even though I don't like it, I want to go and do that.
Yeah.
So that's, dude, huge props to your parents for doing that. I'm sure, down the line, you're going to be like, dude, thank you so much for that.
Yeah, I already am.
Yeah.
I think these last year or 2 years where the business has taken off, it did take some time to get there.
Of course.
But the last year or two, I have had that conversation with my parents, now I actually realize what you were doing. Because in the moment, I was like, Mom, I just want to buy my own car. I want to do this. I want to do that. And they kept saying, if you're going to work for money, you're not allowed to work in our household.
And even and down the line, what that does for your future kids, now you have a basis to be like, well, shoot, grandpa and grandpa did this for me. I could pay it forward and do the same for my future family.
Exactly. And I totally agree with that. And it was honestly an eye-opening experience, and more importantly, I think, like you said, it was something I was able to find something I'm passionate about. And when I speak at high schools, and that's the main purpose, is how do you find something that you really are passionate about? Because people say, go do something you love, but they don't tell you how to do that, right?
Exactly.
How do I find that? I talk to so many kids that are graduating college, around my age now that are graduating, and they got a degree and now they don't know what the heck to do, right?
No, and that's a common case. You hear that all the time. So I feel like a lot of it comes down to not trying enough shit you don't like. And if you don't try stuff that you don't like, you never really figure out what you do like. So for me, like, I tried so many different things until I found real estate, and I was like, oh, you know what? I love this. I get to talk to people. I get to make relationships I like to call friendships. But at the same time, I did labor jobs. I did go door knocking to sell security systems. So I did stuff that I'm like, I probably won't do that again. But it led me to figure out what I'm now doing that I do enjoy doing, and I love doing, for a matter of fact. Yeah. But tell me a little bit about, how you got into, writing that book. And I know you briefly mentioned that in conversations before, your dad writes books as well, or he's an author?
He actually just wrote his first book.
Oh, okay.
So
damn, you beat him to the punch.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
dope. Pretty much he came to me and was like, oh, I'm thinking of writing a book. How do I go about it? Right.
Wow. That's awesome.
But it was really a teacher in elementary school that helped me out. And
elementary school.
Yeah. My first book that I wrote, I was 10 years old, and I wasn't planning to write the book at all.
Yeah.
The main reason is I was my parents, again, another big lesson they taught me. They were immigrants, right? And most parents that are immigrants want their kids to learn English in order for them to succeed here in the States, right? Yeah. For me, it was the opposite. My mom was a Spanish teacher, and she said he has to learn Spanish, and he's in the U.S., he'll figure out English to survive automatically, right? Like, by default, he'll learn English on his own. But the first, 5 years of my life, I thought the whole world just spoke Spanish, right? I get into kindergarten, and I don't know what the heck the other kids are saying, right? I don't know what the teacher's saying. I don't know what the other kids are saying.
You'll figure it out.
Yeah, and I did, but those early years, probably kinder through third, fourth grade, I was super behind on English.
Okay.
English, reading, writing. I was always bottom of the class.
ELD.
ELD.
Bring it in, brother.
But in math, it was the same in English and Spanish, right? The numbers are exactly the
Universal.
same. So in math, it was fine. But English, I was always struggling. So I had one teacher that actually pulled me aside and said, hey, instead of doing the normal homework that all the other kids are doing, just write stories for fun. Use your imagination. Obviously, as a kid, second grader, third grader, you have a ton of imagination. So my dad traveled a lot for work. He has a firm that most of his clients are in Latin America, Brazil, Colombia, et cetera. And when he would come back and tell me the stories of his trips, I would basically create a character that went on the same adventures that my dad did. And that's what I would turn into my teacher. Eventually, the teacher kind of packaged my stories together with my parents, sent it to a publisher, or actually multiple publishers. And then, and I didn't even know they were doing this.
Right.
So I remember coming home from school one day and all my family was there. It was June, July. My birthday's in February. I was like, why is everyone here? It's not my birthday. And they had a little box, so I opened it up, and it was the first set of books with my name on it. So it was definitely a huge self-esteem boost from going from the bottom of my class in writing to actually being a published author. I definitely have to reach back out to that teacher because it changed my life for sure. From there, I got inspired, wrote a second one. After the second book, I started traveling and speaking to students anywhere from age 14 all the way until COVID. I was traveling across the U.S., Mexico City, Latin America, Colombia, Costa Rica, going and speaking. And I had one principal that said, hey, your story is great. You talk about everything you did, but you don't give the students a step-by-step process on how to do it. Right?
Wow.
So they leave inspired, but they still don't know what to do.
I mean, by default, humans learn an ABC, 1, 2, 3 list. Yeah.
So that's what made me at 19 write the third book, which is called Change the World. And it really gives 5 main steps that kids can follow to start doing the internships that I was doing. Right? How do you reach out to a mentor? It has email scripts saying hey, I met you blank right here. I'd love to work for you for free doing this. Has them write down their talents, what they're naturally good at, what they're not good at.
Right.
Identify if their weaknesses are really something they have to improve. And I hate reading, even though I've written a couple books. It's very hard for me to still read to this day or stay focused. So I wrote the book in a way that if I could read it, anyone, in
wow,
high school
that's
could
really
read it.
neat, bro.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so that's a little bit of stories behind the
It's
books.
like each book led you to another chapter of your life that you help, people understand through your experiences.
Exactly.
That's admirable. But let's get into real estate, man. So you're currently with Multitasker. Let us know a little bit about, who they are, what they do, and how long you've been with them.
Yeah, absolutely. So the company itself was founded about 5 years ago. We're a real estate tech company. We're developing software and applications to simplify the whole process of real estate. As we were doing that, the first thing we aimed to do was really bring all services of real estate under one roof, right? So our CEO was a lender for 10, 12 years, and he saw that when you have, let's say a 401k or money that you have set aside, you're trying to save for retirement, you go to a financial advisor.
Yeah.
And that financial advisor has access to the S&P 500. That financial advisor has access to mutual funds, different types of investments for higher net worth. And they can package a specific custom solution for you.
Yeah.
When you do that in the real estate field, which is really where the majority of the equity or wealth is in the US,
of course,
there's no one that's there to advise you on all the services that are available, right? So you go to a realtor and they can help you buy and sell a house, but that's it.
Yeah.
You can go to a lender and they can provide, certain type of loans, but that's it.
Yeah.
And then what if you want to remodel or build or solar or anything else with your house? You go to a very fragmented industry, right? So at the end of the day, his idea was to defragment the industry. And he raised a bunch of capital and ended up buying companies within each sector.
Basically bringing them under the same umbrella.
Bring them all under the same company,
wow.
right? So I'm the broker there. So at the end of the day, we're right now just ramping that side up very recently. But then we also have like creative financing for ADUs. And the ADU was the perfect product that encompassed everything. Because for an ADU, you're going to need financing. You're going to need a contractor. You're going to need to own a house. You're going to need solar by law. So it was one product that showcased everything that we can do. And now that we're building anywhere between 30 to 40 ADUs a month, we've gotten to the point where now we have enough case studies and enough research to see where the holes are in the industry and how can we create technology to simplify each stage of the process and really like connect them, right?
Wow. Okay.
So architects, permitting, construction, financing, everything's under one roof.
No, and then from the presentation that we were over at was it Foundation Escrow? No,
New Venture.
New Venture Escrow. Yeah. Basically, you broke down exactly how everything works. I mean, the technology looks amazing. The way that you showcase it to your clients, and I really like the aspect that it has it all one-stop shop. Because if not, it makes it very difficult having to manage so many different parties that have their hand in the cookie jar, right?
Exactly.
It's and then let alone if you're a homeowner, you also have a life, you also have jobs, you also have your family. So it's like, how many hats can you really wear, and how do you know that you're getting the proper eyes on the project, that everything's going well? So what benefits arise from homeowners, adding ADUs, and what how can they take advantage of it right now?
Yeah. So the first comment, exactly like you said. A lot of homeowners have never done construction before. So they're going into this blindly. They're talking to an architect. That architect sends a design to a contractor. The contractor bids it. All of a sudden, it's way too expensive. So they go back to the architect. Then where do I get the money for this? They're talking to 5-6 different people in the process, and they've never project managed anything before.
Right.
So they're, super lost. And again, they have their own job, they have their own life, so they're doing this after hours at work. So it becomes very complicated. So that's the first step, is we brought everything in house. And what was the other question?
What was like the advantages as far as the reaping the benefits of having an ADU?
Absolutely. So we really see all of our clients kind of fit into 3 main categories. The first one are people that are trying to build cash flow.
Yeah.
Those are usually the more savvy investors, the ones that are thinking longer term. Even if it's a small amount of cash flow of a couple $100 a month, at the end of the day, it's very difficult to acquire a property in the San Diego, LA market.
Yes, we do. We know that.
that will cash flow day one, right? Most of our ADU projects, unless they're, qualifying for kind of crappy financing, but most of them cash flow day one, which is very hard to do. And And that's the main kind of benefit for the bigger investors that are thinking longer term. Of course, with that, you also have the second benefit, which is the equity, right? Yeah. So if we're able to have a property that has a big lot, at the end of the day, if you end up building for 200,000, but you gain 500,000 worth of equity, you're not just sitting back for the market to go up. You're literally forcing appreciation.
And you're adding value to it. Yeah.
Exactly. So right off the bat, it really pays itself just with the equity. And we've had appraisers, and usually we're seeing anywhere from 1.5 to 2x on the equity as soon as it's built, right?
Wow. Okay.
So right off the bat, it's pretty quick. And then last but not least, which is kind of the other half of our clientele, is the clients that are building for family or personal use. So whether they have an elderly, parent that needs to move back in, they have a son that's coming back from college, but, can't afford the rent yet. Whether it's for themselves because they want to live in the ADU and downsize and actually rent out their main house. We kind of see one half doing it for the investment and getting the equity and cash flow, and the other half of the people are doing it out of necessity because they say, hey, I can build an ADU for 200K, or I can go buy a condo for 500, right? So they see that, it costs less than half to get the same purpose out of it.
No, of course. And I think it's three perfect ways to skin the cat. I mean, you can go at it for long-term investment. You could go at it for the appreciation, instant value. Or if it's, a family measure or something out of your life, a life circumstance that you need to basically build that for your family, for, like you said, it's different examples. What is the turnaround time of, the whole project from start to finish?
Absolutely. So from the day we actually meet the client all the way until they have keys in hand, we're seeing anywhere between 10 to 12 months. And the reason for that, we break it down into three main steps. The first one is design and feasibility. That one's pretty quick, anywhere from 2 weeks to about a month and a half. And that is where we go out to the property, we scan the property, we take over 700 data points with, the tech that we're using. And usually 2 to 3 weeks after coming out to your property, we'll show you the design and estimation. Now, if a client loves it first time, then we're done. But most of the times there's 2 or 3 iterations, of being able to get that done. So that's why I say anywhere between 2 weeks if you love it, first try, all the way until like a month and a half to get it right? Up to that point, most of our clients have like no commitment. Up to that point, they haven't put any money out of their pocket, and they receive a design, an estimate, an investment analysis, like a real quick rough like proposed appraisal value, that comparison to the S&P, that comparison to other investment.
Okay, cool. So you right off the bat let them know if you're putting your money here, this is what expected return on investment is looking like.
Exactly. Nice. It's not just a design.
Here, believe us. No, that's cool.
So we have
that's really neat.
Financial analysts within the firm that package all that together, and then we also provide expected rental income, all the loan options that you qualified for, so you can see, hey, does this cash flow, does this not, or if it's negative, how long will I be negative before it goes up? And then we have a few guarantees within our process that really separate us from everybody else, right?
Nice.
And those are, number one, we lock in price before permitting, so you don't have to worry about material prices going up or anything like that. Number two, because we do a really in-depth home inspection, we have a no change order contract. So if we miss something in the process or in the estimation, that's our fault. We don't charge the clients for that later in the future. And the idea is that because we're doing such an in-depth inspection, we're supposed to catch everything from the beginning. And then the last guarantee, which is something that recently got launched, is some clients, again, like you said, have their own job, have their own life, is actually providing a guaranteed rental income. Right, so we would become the tenants for the client, and rent that out from them, and then we would go out and sublease that for you, in case you wanted to be completely hands off. Right, not many of our clients take that option just because they feel they can rent it out themselves. But it is an option for I'd say anywhere between 10 to 15 of our clients. They just don't want to touch it. They don't want to deal with it, or they feel they don't know enough about property management to handle it themselves. So we'll handle that part for you as well.
But I mean, from everything that you just mentioned, it sounds like you have, literally multiple options, different out routes, different, strategies that allows the homeowner to at least feel like, okay, well, it's not just one way, it's that way only. I have options and I could choose. And I feel that's what really separates you guys from a lot of different companies, where it's like you're able to really paint the picture and then actually show them literally virtually, what it looks like. So that's, exactly. One of the really cool things that, I think Multitasker and you leading the way is a very unique, and I believe you guys are just going to continue to crush it. Like, it's just no chance, bro, that's not going to happen.
Yeah. And it's been a lot of trial and error, man. At the end of the day, it's been, I've been at the company for 3.5 years. The company was founded 5 years ago. And originally, like I said, we just were offering home solutions. About a year and a half in is where we doubled down on the ADUs. I was actually recruited to sell for them when they first started the company, but it was nowhere near what it was when I actually joined. And when I joined, the main thing that brought me in was that they were very early adopters of the ADU concept when those laws happened in 2020.
Yeah, and then I remember you made a few videos about those laws. What was the 2 laws that you mentioned that California makes it accessible for homeowners to be able to use to get that ADU?
Yeah, so really the big ones is that they standardized like what's allowed across the entire state, right? Before, it used to be up to every single city. Okay. And just within San Diego, there's 18 cities plus unincorporated areas. Yeah. So you can imagine if someone hears something in La Mesa, it's not the same as Oceanside. It's not the same as Chula Vista. So they standardized it across the board. Anyone that has space for it can build up to a 1,200 square foot ADU and up to a 500 square foot junior ADU. The difference, the junior has to be either attached to the main residence or converted existing space. Okay. So most of the time it's like garage conversions, right? And then in the backyard, standalone units up to 1,200 square feet. That's the standard. Then you get more intricate laws, like there's a bonus ADU program if you're within a certain like transport area. There's certain like laws, like for example, City of San Diego, you can attach the junior ADU to the ADU instead of your main house. But not every city has that. So it gets more and more in depth, but the 1,200 and the 500, those are like pretty basics across the board. And then there's a proposed law that's coming up that if it is passed, it's going to be freaking crazy, which is AB 1033. And that's a law that basically states that a homeowner will be able to sell the ADU separate from the primary
That's the one I saw that I was like, dude, that is ridiculous. You're meaning to tell me you could sell a little casita inside your parcel of land?
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy.
So it's proposed right now. Obviously, it's going through revisions and everything else.
Is there any other states that are currently doing that or have done it?
Yeah. So Austin, Texas is doing it. I believe Portland, Oregon is doing it. And I believe there's one other one. So I still need to dive deeper into exactly how they do it because I have questions.
No, yeah, I mean, I'm like, wow. I mean, if you could do that, imagine how much little ADUs you could go out selling.
Yeah, exactly. Like that opens up a whole new door for realtors as
100%.
well. And that's something that I think you and I just recently talked about is Multitasker aims to eventually become like this marketplace that serves the real estate industry.
Yeah.
We don't want to be competitors or anything. We really are just building the software.
Yeah.
Like the ADU is our way of like
putting the software into like actual
into
physical.
Use, right?
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, that program that I launched 2 months ago of the realtor referral program and educating realtors because they're getting questions all the time.
Yeah, of course.
I'm sure you as a lender
definitely
have received questions about it. And most of the times they're either not educated on it or don't know how it can benefit them.
Of course.
So we offered this referral program that, they can basically earn 1% off of the referral. And because it's a construction contract, it's literally selling a construction job. So it's like a 1% commission on that, right?
Yeah.
So there's that program that launched for all the realtors and lenders that are listening in here in San Diego or LA.
Yeah.
It's something that we just launched 2 months ago.
Nice. Well, before we let you go, and thank you so much for sharing your extensive knowledge on ADU. I mean, it really sounds like you know exactly what it takes to basically bring it from the ground up. And I'm excited to share this with a lot of clients and, future clients to be able to, get them more information about the advantages of just taking, your property and really, getting your return on investment. So before we let you go, Miguel, what is your, point of view or your prediction for the remaining of the real estate market for 2023?
Man, that's a great question, because honestly, all the economics I learned in college is out the window.
Right? and all the economics I've recently learned, I'm like, bro, nothing makes sense.
Exactly. We were taught that, hey, if interest rates go up, homes go down. If basically if interest rates go down, home prices go up, and supply and demand. But no, it's definitely caught me off guard on my original predictions. I definitely do think that it has to stabilize. I mean, the biggest kind of factor that's causing these prices to go up, at least from what we've seen, is really the fact that people got such low interest rates in the past couple years that they don't see the point in like selling right now.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, that's the inventory issue that we're having, which I think the ADUs actually play into solving part of that inventory issue.
Yeah, 100%.
At the end of the day, more units available, more people can rent out. We're definitely at a housing shortage deficit.
For sure.
So definitely throughout the end of the year, I think summer's going to ramp up. I think prices are going to keep going up through the remainder of the summer into like fall and winter, and then just like every other year, kind of taper off, slow down as people are going into the holidays. But I'm definitely interested on seeing how it goes. And the good thing about working there at Multitask, we have so many services to offer that we're not really relying on the market itself.
No, that's good. And the reason I asked is because of the fact that there's so much information going on every week. There's some new headline that it's really like keeping the pulse on the market, and being there every time new information comes out, and really being able to depict it and saying, that's probably not going to happen. This is kind of more or less what's happening. And then for me, just relaying that information over to our clients and letting them know, hey, like, yeah, this is all happening right now, but in the long run, this is what's going to occur. And it's happened over time. I mean, you see the data. Miguel, thank you so much for coming by, bro. I really appreciate you sharing your story, sharing what you know about everything that you know. And looking forward to another one, bro.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks so much, Brian.
Yeah,
appreciate
of course,
it.
bro. Bring it in.